Thank you. Senator Daines.
Dr. Crowley, congratulations on your nomination. It's good to have you here today. David, as I'm sitting here, I'm struck by thinking 30 years ago, as I'm looking at you and Bonnie. For all I know, we could have been on the Star Ferry together, crossing the harbor there in Hong Kong when we had two little ones that were born in Hong Kong, going from Guangzhou into Hong Kong for sometimes some R&R. And little did we know that we'd be sitting here today, some 30 years later, talking about your nomination to be the United States ambassador to China. What a journey it's been, and I can't think of a better nominee, somebody who understands China, somebody who has been a successful businessman, a United States senator, a member of this Foreign Relations Committee, and who has a passion for representing America proudly in China, and importantly, has the great respect that you do of President Trump and your respect of the president, that mutual strong relationship that you have that's been based on years of working together. There's just not a better guy to be going to Beijing for the United States than David Perdue. We've discussed the trafficking of fentanyl. Senator Scott brought that up briefly. Now the precursors that China is sending into Mexico, Canada, and the United States are a threat to our national security. Our leading cause of death for 18 to 45-year-olds in the United States is fentanyl poisoning. It's a public health emergency. We have a drug war going on right now in the United States with fentanyl. China, sadly, remains the single largest provider of these deadly chemicals, we call them precursors, that the cartels then manufacture and bring across the southern border into our communities. President Trump has made this a priority to stop this poisonous tide. The Senate is eager to help. David, how can you, if confirmed, as United States ambassador to China, work with both the American and the Chinese governments to stem the flow of deadly fentanyl into my state of Montana, into your home state of Georgia, and other communities across America?
Well, Senator, I wish I had known you 30 years ago when we were both over there. I want to applaud what you've just done and what you've continued to do since you've been in not only the Senate but in the House as well, and that is interface with your friends and colleagues and people in China, standing up to them and telling them what's important to us. Your representation of U.S. interests has been the most powerful thing I've seen outside of presidential actions in my tenure in the last 10 years. I want to thank you for that. I know you just made a recent trip on this very topic. Look, this fentanyl poisoning kills more Americans in 1 year than died in Vietnam over 20 years. So President Trump has made a top priority of stopping this flow of this deadly drug into the United States. It's a multifaceted thing. It starts with the precursors in China. It goes to Canada and Mexico, where this is now being transferred into the United States. As ambassador, I will echo your priority as well as the president's priority that this is one of our top priorities. The Chinese, as you know, respect strength. They don't like a lot of complaining unless they see action. And right now, President Trump put 2 tariffs on this one issue. That's action. And I believe we'll see some response to that in the near future, hopefully.
Thank you. I want to shift gears and talk about the level playing field that we need for American companies who are doing business in China. We have American companies last year did about $500 billion worth of business in China. Chinese companies in the United States did about $75 billion. So I know we focused a lot on the $300 billion trade deficit, but we right now have about a $400 billion revenue surplus because American companies are in there doing business, selling to the Chinese consumer. And it's important that they keep winning over there because those dollars then flow down to R&D to build next generation, whether it's aircraft at Boeing and so forth. Another important topic for me personally for Montana is making sure we have access for agricultural products. It's now a $1.6 billion beef market for the United States producers. It's the second largest beef market in the world is China. And we are now facing some steep headwinds because the Chinese government did not renew export licenses to 394, basically processors in the United States. And this is going to affect about 90 to 95% of our beef exports to China, this huge market. David, as ambassador, how would you work to make American companies, as well as our farmers and our ranchers, more competitive in that significant and huge 1.4 billion consumer Chinese market?
Well, we already recognize that they import 30% of their food. The second thing is that being from Georgia, ag is a little over half of our total GDP, and I know in Montana it's very important. I want to applaud you again for the work that you did back in the first administration of Donald Trump in getting that one trade deal done and the first piece about ag. It wouldn't have happened without your personal leadership. As ambassador, I will try to, and I said it in my opening remarks, increase the dialogue pace on these very important issues, both to us and to China. Look, we want reciprocal trade, fair and open reciprocal trade. That's what President Trump is trying to do. And ag is one of the major pieces of ammunition we have to export into China.
Thank you, David.